What's up, y'all? You're watching Union Minded. I'm your host, Eric, and today let's do a recap and an update on a variety of labor stories. You remember that company, Yellow, that trucking company, went out of business, claimed bankruptcy? Yeah, Teamsters had a post about Yellow and urging the Senate to do some bankruptcy reform hearings on that company. Also, we'll have video of Tim Scott and what he thinks about unions who strike, which is indicative of what all Republicans think about unions and what to do when workers stand up for theirs. Lastly, we're going to talk about Ford pausing a construction plant of a Marshall EV battery manufacturing plant as a threat to the UAW during these negotiations. They're eliminating jobs before they even begin as a threat to the workers who are trying to stand up for some more money in their pockets. So let's dive right in. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and share the channel, all that good stuff. Here we go. Teamsters, this is straight off of their Twitter page. Teamsters urged the Senate to begin bankruptcy reform hearings on Yellow. The Teamsters Union is calling for the Senate to investigate the unfolding bankruptcy at Yellow Corp. Following today's special Senate Judiciary Committee hearing on corporate manipulation of Chapter 11 bankruptcy. At the hearing, Senator Amy Klobuchar called out Yellow, pointing to the company's attempts to expedite liquidation of its assets to evade responsibility for its mismanagement at the expense of workers. After a company files for Chapter 11, employees risk losing their livelihoods, health benefits, and pensions through no fault of their own. These are things that workers have worked hard for and have earned, Senator Klobuchar said during the hearing. This issue has become relevant to my state because just last month, Yellow Corp, one of the largest LTL carriers in the country, filed for bankruptcy. This bankruptcy jeopardizes the livelihood and health benefits of many hardworking Minnesotans, including 480 Minnesota Teamsters. The Teamsters demand a comprehensive investigation, calling on Senators Dick Durbin and Bernie Sanders to exclusively hold hearings before the Senate Committee on the Judiciary and the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee to look into Yellow's bankruptcy. So Yellow is trying to be slick about claiming bankruptcy, and they're trying to basically rob the employees of their pensions and everything else that they work so hard to maintain and to keep. The timing of Yellow's bankruptcy filing and the unusual steps it has taken while controlling the bankruptcy as a debtor in possession warrant scrutiny. An expedited liquidation would preclude a potential purchase of Yellow assets from any party that may want to reestablish operations, which would benefit the economy, thousands of workers, and their communities and American taxpayers. Yellow is trying to fast-track liquidation. Meanwhile, more than 22,000 union workers are out of work after sacrificing more than $5 billion over the past 14 years through wage and benefit concessions, a fact the company would prefer to conceal from the American public and the bankruptcy courts, said Teamsters General Secretary Treasurer Fred Zuckerman. We haven't had bankruptcy reform in this country for nearly 2 decades. We need to take this opportunity to right the wrongs at Yellow and to prevent them from happening again. I agree wholeheartedly. Now, let's take a look at what Republicans think of us. Now, as far as this this bankruptcy reform hearing, yeah, it's too easy to just claim bankruptcy and get out of paying bills. Just ask Donald Trump. He does it all the time. Now, let's see what these Republicans think about us as union workers. This is Tim Scott.
Ronald Reagan gave us a great example when federal employees decided they were going to strike. Either you strike, you're fired. Simple concept to me. To the extent that we could use that once again, absolutely.
If you strike, you're fired. A simple concept to him. Ronald Reagan gave us the blueprint. Imagine having the gall to say that while there's an ongoing strike. They let us know every day what they think of us. And those of you who work for a living like I do, those of you that are into trades like I am, and sit here and proudly vote for these scumbags, yeah, you guys are hurting us. Because these guys want to take away our way of making a living. They want us to be poor and destitute so that we will always have to come to work and have to keep the machine running. Otherwise, we will starve and die. Because there are no safety nets for real in this country that will help you to maintain yourself and stay alive. It's outrageous that he would have the nerve to say something like that. Then you got Ford pausing construction of the Marshall EV battery plant. Why? because there's a strike. The UAW is negotiating a fair contract, and the big three, Ford especially right now, doesn't want to share in the profits that the labor of the workers have created, because these shareholders, these CEOs, didn't create a thing. They didn't turn a wrench. They did nothing. And yet here they are causing pain or future pain and threatening workers who are trying to get their fair share. Let's see what this article has to say. This is from the Detroit News. Ford Motor Company on Monday halted construction on a $3.5 billion electric vehicle battery plant project in the Marshall area amid months of battles with local residents, Republicans in Congress over its planned use of Chinese technology, and an auto industry strike in its second weekend. We're pausing work and we're going to limit spending on construction at Marshall until we're confident about our ability to competitively run the plant, Ford spokesman T.R. Reid told the Detroit News on Monday. We're pausing work and we're going to limit spending on construction at Marshall until we're confident about our ability to competitively run the plant. Translation: we will not build this plant if we have to pay you a fair wage. Know that we will offshore this work. We will offshore it. We will not hire you guys. That's the translation of that statement. A number of considerations were at play in the company's business decision, he said, but wouldn't say whether the UAW ongoing strike of Ford and its crosstown rivals was a factor. We haven't made a final decision about the investment there. Of course, that's why it's a threat, because they haven't made a final decision. They're just dangling it over people's heads. The decision was announced on the eve of President Joe Biden traveling to Michigan on Tuesday to rally striking workers who have walked off the job at Ford's Michigan assembly plant. On Wednesday, former President Donald Trump is going to hold an adjacent rally with hand-picked U.S. Workers and union workers who are trumpets, and it'll be a whole thing where he'll bash the union and say that they're doing bad for the workers and they're going to cause the workers to lose jobs. Don't be fooled by the nonsense Trump does. Biden's going to go rally actually with the striking UAW workers, and actually has been on the record using the rhetoric that Sean Fain is using when he says record profits should result in record contracts. So they are not the same. Do not be fooled by the nonsense. The Ford battery plant in Marshall was one of 4 cornerstone projects around which state lawmakers and Governor Gretchen Whitmer in 2021 built the state's newest job-creating incentives program called the Strategic Outreach and Attraction Reserve Fund. The taxpayer incentive program was created after Michigan lost out on a massive $11.5 billion investment from Ford. Whitmer's office said in a statement on Monday that the governor is committed to keeping Michigan a home to world-class automakers whose iconic vehicles are built by the best auto workers in the world. Ford has been clear that this is a pause, and we hope negotiations between the Big Three and UAW will be successful so that Michiganders can get back to work doing what they do best, said Bobby Letty, a spokesman for Whitmer. The 2.5 million square foot battery park was to be run by a wholly owned subsidiary of Ford called Blue Oval Battery Park, Michigan. The plant would employ 2,500 people and pay ranging between $20 and $50 an hour. UAW President Sean Fain called Ford's move Monday a shameful, barely veiled threat by the automaker to cut jobs before they were created. We are simply asking for a just transition to electric vehicles, and Ford is instead doubling down on their race to the bottom, he said in a statement. Pretty wild stuff going on in the world of labor. But make no mistake, companies are not your friend. Companies don't care about you. They care about profits, and they will always do what they think is best for their bottom line, because that's what their fiduciary responsibility is to maximize profits, and that's what they try to do. It's up to us to maximize our profits, because ain't nobody fighting for us but us. So we have to support workers, and we have to support unions, and unions have to support the community, and together we make this world a better place for people like you and I, and make those very, very wealthy aristocrats pay a little more in their fair share of taxes, and also disperse the profits that we make for them equitably, so that we all can have a good standard of living. Remember, my name's Eric. You're watching Union Minded. The fight's not left and right. It's up and down. It's going to take solidarity to win always. Yeah.